Thank all of you for coming today to the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. Let me begin by telling you why we have called the press conference, obviously to announce to the community the arrest of these two individuals that you see here. I will give you a brief overview of this case, and then Chief Deputy Chip Simmons of the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, who's in charge of all of our operations to include investigations and patrol and traffic, and also Mr. John Molchan from the State Attorney's Office will be here to answer any specific legal questions that you may have. We recently arrested 37-year-old white male Andrew Bennett Ross Celaius. Mr. Celaius is the suspect of child abuse, aggravated child abuse, and also has just been charged in the last day with tampering with evidence. These charges stem around the abuse of a two-year-old white female victim. This report came to us from one of our local hospitals. The mother took the child in for some care. She had ostensibly thought that some of the injuries that were present on the child were due to ringworm. When she took the child to the ER physicians who are well versed in spotting child abuse quickly determined that that was not any form of ringworm. It was abuse, and in this case it was burn marks. They immediately notified the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, and of course our case was opened. I want to let everyone know that additional charges will result as the investigation continues. There is a suspicion of possible sexual abuse also, which is unconfirmed at this time. While incarcerated, our suspect, Mr. Ross Celaius, made contact with Mr. Eric Everett Furnans. Mr. Furnans was arrested due to becoming an accomplice in this crime by willfully destroying evidence at the request of Mr. Ross Celaius while incarcerated. And again, that case also continues. We believe right now it is only involving the destruction of cell phones, which could contain some images recorded of the abuse. Our indications are at this time in this case, ladies and gentlemen, that it goes far beyond just a child being abused, but images were also captured and maintained of the abuse while it occurred. We also have reason to believe at this time, with evidence that we have seized, that some of this evidence may have been stored in the cloud and potentially been shared with other people, which of course would result in additional charges being coordinated with the State Attorney's Office. Before I turn it over to Chief Haynes, I would let everyone know in our community, number one, the young men and women you see on the wall over here are the ones that conducted this case. We will allow the press contact with them after the press conference. They are under no requirement to speak with you, but if you have specific questions about the case that they can answer at this time, they will most assuredly do that. It's important that our community know that these young men and women, work 24/7, and it's due to their diligence and professionalism that this case hopefully will be brought to a swift conclusion. If anyone in our community has any knowledge of Mr. Ross Celaius and the activities that he was involved in, if he ever shared with you potentially taking images of a child or sharing them with you, we would ask that you please come forward. I'm sure Chief Simmons will get into more detail and let you know about the truly heinous nature of this crime. It, in some instances, is even indescribable. It's the thing that nightmares are made of, and no child should ever be subjected to this. With that, I'll introduce Chief Deputy Chip Simmons. Chief.
Thank you, Sheriff. As Sheriff Morgan mentioned, the 2-year-old child was taken first to Sacred Heart Hospital. That led deputies to be alerted to the injuries by the staff at Sacred Heart Hospital. And that also led them, investigators, to be called out and to go to the home. At the home, we discovered various video surveillance type systems and then some electronics. So we had to go get search warrants. And when we took a look at those based on, again, another search warrant, I think we did a total of 7 search warrants, we found some disturbing images. We found some systematic harassment, if not torture, of a 2-year-old child as this child tried to sleep. There are videos of the child sound asleep and then getting a half full bottle thrown on this child just to wake it up. And then we had images of that same child asleep, and this time a full bottle thrown in an overhand type throw right on the child, clearly waking the child up, disturbing and making the child cry. We had a number of instances where this individual, the suspect, would use an airsoft gun to just shoot a sleeping child, for no other reason but to wake the child up and to hurt the child. One of the more disturbing videos shows the child actually wearing a dog collar. And then you can hear the sounds of the dog collar being activated, and then the shrieking and the pain that the child has suffered as a result of this. At one point, you also see the suspect with a flame, a bit of a flame, a little torch, and then you can hear and see the child, the injuries as a result of those things. I've been in law enforcement for over 30 years, and when I looked at the evidence that we saw here, me and members of my staff were speechless. There's no words to describe why someone would hurt, intentionally damage, and harass someone that just was trying to sleep. It's a terrible thing to see. I will tell you that, as Sheriff Morgan said, there are a number of other pieces of information. There are storage drives that we have search warrants for that we're still looking at, so there could potentially be more evidence of this was going on. I would, as Sheriff Morgan mentioned, like to say that this is not an easy thing to work. You know, these are humans. These are deputies that have children, grandchildren that are this age, and so when you look at this, it hits you in the heart, and you wonder, how can someone be so mean? But the members of our Special Victims Unit, which, as Sheriff Morgan mentioned over here against the wall, they did a great job. I would have to also say we have members of our patrol unit. Our narcotics unit was a great help because of so many search warrants. We had our warrants division, computer crimes, as you can imagine. They spent countless hours there. We also had the Gulf Coast Kids House, I believe, is here. We have members, representatives here. We work very well and in partnership with them. And I described quite a bit about some of the harassment and what I call torture that was handed down on this child for, again, no apparent reason. So the only saving grace that I can say is, at the end of this, the conclusion of this investigation, we are comforted to some degree by the thought that this precious child will not be harmed tonight. Not tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Mulchan?
First of all, I'd like to thank the members of the Escambia County Sheriff's Office for the in-depth investigation that they did in this case. These are not easy cases, as the chief has indicated. Those of us that have been in this business for a long time, these take a lot out of you. It's taken a lot out of them. Our office has been working with them in this regard, and as far as this case is concerned, and will continue to work with them. I think it's important to note that we have provided our assistance will be from the Kids House, specially trained to deal with these particular cases, and that we will pursue justice to the maximum extent that we can. We have to defend those who are defenseless, and this young 2-year-old was certainly defenseless, and thank goodness for video cameras and things like that that came into play, and also the great work in recognizing what a great benefit it can be in this situation. Make no doubt about it, we're going to pursue this case vigorously and attain justice for this child.
We'll entertain questions at this time. Yes, sir.
So these two are connected because the man on the bottom is charged with destroying evidence, and I understand that they met while both were incarcerated.
That is incorrect. They had a friendship. Our suspect, Mr. Ross Celaius, contacted by phone while incarcerated the gentleman on the bottom. Okay, and asked that he, obtain some evidence and destroy it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
How long has this all been going on that you all know of?
Chief, do we know exactly how long the abuse had occurred?
I think that what we're looking at right now is the last couple of months. But again, because we have served so many search warrants, we have so many storage devices, electronic devices, it's probably not safe to say it only details the 2 months. This could go years in the past.
I would say the mother is cooperating with us, and I think the chief made an accurate assessment there. It would be difficult for us to put a date that this abuse occurred over the last 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, until we actually retrieve all of that information. I'm unaware, and I don't think our investigators are aware of how long the relationship with this young man and young woman had been. It could have started from the day they first met. We're not sure. Yes.
So boyfriend, girlfriend? And
Yes.
had
Do we want to talk to that issue?
I think it's already out.
Yes, she was initially arrested for neglect, and she has bonded out. And I will divulge that she was unaware of, we believe at this time, that she was unaware of the abuse and the extent of it. The report we got back from our investigators, when she was allowed to view some of the material, not all of the material, but some of the material, her reaction was more than appropriate. I think it was obvious to the investigators that she was unaware of this. And at that time, again, the mother is fully cooperating with us.
Ross Celaius is the father of the child?
He is not. He's a boyfriend.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Were the cameras put in specifically, or is it your belief that the cameras were put in specifically to film the abuse, or were they there for security measures and caution? And then he used that to his benefit by...
Chief, is Ops, you comfortable speaking to that?
I think that what you have to consider is there were multiple video apparatuses. There was a in-home video as well as some cell phone video. And you can take it for, it's hard to say why exactly one versus the other. But there were numerous video clippings. There was hours and hours that they were looking for. And at this point, we're still kind of early in the investigation to be able to say this is why he did one thing versus the other. As Mr. Mulchan said, that we are thankful that we have this video evidence, and we are more thankful that this child is out of this environment as we speak.
Yeah, we're still reviewing and retrieving data from both, from the video system inside the home, but it's quite obvious in the investigation that some of the video is from a cell phone. While the abuse is occurring, he was holding the cell phone and recording it from a cell phone. So, again, all of the data has not been retrieved nor reviewed yet.
Do we know if he was trying to sell the clips? Or
We are unaware of that at this time. That's why, again, we have evidence at this time that some, we believe, was in a cloud storage. We do not know at this time, and the investigation continues, was it put on a dark web? Was it shared with someone? But, again, we're certainly pursuing that right now. Yes, sir.
In regards to the bottles, do you know if they were glass, plastic?
Chief, do you know?
I can tell you what I observed, and they looked to be plastic, but they were half full of liquid, and another one looked to be mostly full of liquid, unless you know something different. I think that what really strikes you is the fact that it is dark, the child is sleeping, sound asleep, the door opens, and this guy throws a half-empty bottle right into the bed, or the bassinet, or whatever it's called, and to wake the child up. And then another time, they open the door in the same type of scenario, except this time an overhead throw straight into the where the child's sleeping. This time, obviously, wakes it up, and there's absolutely no reason for that.
I'll go on and divulge because it will eventually become a matter of public record anyway, and it will be under discovery for this. The level of terror that this child was put through. Our abuser would wear a mask, a werewolf mask, and the collar that the chief described is a tasing collar for dogs. And so, again, this is, if you want to think of something that you could do to a child to terrorize them, this child lived through that. To be awoken in the middle of the night, and again, she's staring at this frightful image, a 2-year-old child. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned the child had burn marks, and you said something about a torch being used. What type of device was used? Because initially there was thought that it was ringworm, but then...
It was best described by the investigators. It's not the length. You have butane lighters that you use to light fireplaces or candles or an outside grill. It was actually smaller or shorter than that. And either the flame itself was used, or you can heat the tip of it up and then stick it on someone. That would give the impression of a burn mark, which could also be confused possibly as ringworm.
And that alarmed the mother to bring the
Yes,
child.
yes.
That was the sign.
Yeah, the mother began to notice again marks on the child, and she didn't know what the marks were about. And so again, the mother did take the child for medical treatment. So, yes, sir.
One more question, the connection between that. He called, the top guy called the bottom guy from a jail phone, and those phone calls, I'm imagining, are recorded. Is
That's
that
true.
how he was caught?
Yes.
Does Celaius have a history of abuse? Can you all talk about history?
You want to speak to that, Mr. Mulchan, or would you Would you
I'd
prefer?
not at this point.
You can, again, it's a matter of public record. You can look this up. There's a 2006 case where he was charged with a homicide of a 2-year-old child, very similar circumstances. And again, that's a matter of public record. He was acquitted of those charges. Any other questions?
Should we refer to him as Ross Celaius, or, I know that you were referring to him as that?
That is his legal name, Ross
Okay,
Celaius.
Ross Celaius.
It's Andrew Bennett Ross Celaius.
What did he go by, his first name?
I don't know, just Ross Celaius is how we refer to him. Actually, Ross. Most people have shortened his name just to Ross. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, again, ladies and gentlemen, I've offered the investigators to answer specific questions if they choose to speak with you. Also, remember that there are things they cannot speak about in this case that could affect the eventual outcome of it. Thank you very much.